Hello everyone, I am JJ Benham. Welcome to the first of hopefully many YouTube videos. Um, I wanted to make this video as an introduction to myself and also to explain why I've decided to make this channel and obviously the subsequent videos. So a little bit of background on myself. About 10, 11, 12-ish years ago, I used to be really big into reading. The series that actually kicked it all off for me was actually the Metro 2033 series by Dmitry Glukhovsky. I played the games. I was a big gamer. I still am. Who am I kidding? I played the games, really enjoyed them, fell in love with them and the story. Found out they were based on books. Went and bought the books, absolutely love those, and I've listened to them as well on audiobook since, and then read them. Yeah, phenomenal. And then obviously that got me into reading. I read all the classics, Lord of the Rings trilogy, so on and so forth. I'm a huge sci-fi and fantasy fan. Hopefully, as you'll come to learn. Yeah, so anything like that was up the street. I went to university, so that was about 10 years ago. Good God, I feel old. It was a while ago, roughly 10 years ago. And I stopped reading. Life got in the way, obviously. I got wrapped up into university and then obviously getting a job and getting a house and blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to bore you with the whole story, but I put reading down basically. I read the occasional thing here and there. But for the most part, didn't really read anything. So, as my New Year's resolution, if you will, for 2024, I decided that I really wanted to get back into reading again. And I have done. I actually went recently and spent a bit more money than I actually wanted to spend on books, but I'm going to chip my way through those. The book that I've decided to start with, though, and I feel like the green screen, the very poor green screen, as you can see, which will improve, I promise. But I feel like the green screen will play havoc with the book cover here. But this is the first book that I've decided to try and read, or not read, try and read. It's the book that I'm going to read. This is Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky. I am a pretty big fan of biology, evolution, and particularly speculative evolution, which is exactly what this book is, and it's right up my alley. Absolutely loving it so far. I've got a few other books to go through. I bought a version of Jurassic Park. I've read Jurassic Park before. Jurassic Park's actually one of my favorite stories of all time. The film and the book, and because they're completely different stories, basically. Both I love them both. The book is better. Don't at me. The book is better. Um, yeah, you never know. I might do some book reviews. I might review Children of Time once I'm finished with it. I'm not really sure yet. I'm not really sure whether my reviews will hold water. I don't know whether I know what I'm on about. But if you want to see the reviews, obviously let me know. But let's get back on track. The reason why I'm making this channel and these videos is because I've started reading again, obviously, as I've already said. But I've also had a spark of inspiration and decided that I've got stories to tell, and I really want to try and tell them. So I'm attempting, for the first time, kind of authorship, and I've decided to try and write a book. And I should say book, no books. I've decided to try and write books because I've actually finished the first draft of my first book. I did that in just over 2 months. I think it was 2.5 months. I started at the end of January and finished it halfway through last month. I think it was. I don't know, 2 months ish, 2.5 months, maybe 3 months. But yeah, I became a little bit obsessed. But more on that in a future video. That is a sci-fi book, and then the book that I'm currently working on to give myself a break from that first draft before I start editing it properly is a fantasy book. So I'm kind of doing sci-fi and fantasy, and I'm having an absolute blast. I feel like obviously everyone has different reasons for getting into it, and my main reason for getting into sort of wanting to try being an author is funnily enough Dungeons and Dragons. I started playing Dungeons and Dragons 2014, so a long time ago, 10 years ago, and absolutely fell in love with it. I was very skeptical to start off with, but yeah, fell in love with it. I think I started out as most people do as a player, but then in recent years I've sort of started to be dungeon master more often than not. And the bit that I really fell in love with and obsessed about when I was dungeon master was actually creating the worlds. I'd sit there for hours and hours and hours and pour all my imagination into the world, the geography, the cultures, the factions, the different races or species, the the sort of inner workings of the governments of each faction, and all that good stuff, and even commerce, like coming up with how different economies worked in different nations. Absolutely fell in love with all that, and then obviously the characters as well, like creating really rich and what I thought was interesting characters, and then obviously the problem with it being a D&D game is that the story is ran by the players. The players will experience what they experience. I can only sort of build a framework around them and sort of enable them. But the narrative sort of, it has a rough end, start and end, but the middle bit really is guided by the players. So I might craft an entire area of a city or a dungeon, for example, and be really, really proud of it, really excited, can't wait for the players to see it and interact with it. But then they just walk straight past it, and that bit of that bit of lore that I'd put into the world, that sort of section of the story that I'd worked so hard and was really proud of, would never see the light of day. And I think that's where I'd gotten to, sort of, especially in the past year or so. We just actually, I say finished. We've stopped playing D&D really, as we have done in many campaigns, and I think any D&D players of you that can attest to that. It's very far and few between that you finish a campaign, but I think it was really stopping this last one, and this last story I really tried. I really wanted to make it a really interesting story. I'd got so many different plots and subplots, and it was all weaving in and out, and the players had to like sort of uncover this plot. Really, really, really quite proud of it actually, and because we'd stopped playing it, I felt like it was a waste, almost like a waste of that little bit of imagination that had sort of dropped onto the page. So I decided that I wanted to tell stories, and I want to tell stories the way I want to tell them, rather than being player driven, which there's nothing wrong with that at all. But yeah, I think writing a book was the natural step for me, and something that I really enjoyed doing. It got dark. I apologize. I got distracted, and the sun vanished, as it does. But yeah, all in all, I just wanted to make this sort of this channel and this first video, introduce myself, and my aim really is to sort of chronicle in video form sort of my journey. I'm completely new to all of this. I am aiming eventually to self-publish. The first book that I've written, the sci-fi book, it's being edited as we speak. I have an editor. I've hired an editor, and they're going through it. I've already been through it once. I call it a first draft. I mean, it was sloppy, brain dump on a page. I give it a once over, which technically would have been the first draft, and then I've given it a once over again, and now it's in its first draft. Technically, it's its second draft, but that's being edited as we speak. Hopefully, I'll get that back at some point soon. But I am aiming, as I mentioned, obviously to get that self-published, which would be really exciting. So I'll go through all of that in detail, obviously, again, as I've already mentioned in another video. But I'm completely new to all of this. This journey is going to be completely new to me, and I thought that it would be really cool to sort of video my each step through this journey, and obviously I want the ideas for people, you guys, to learn along with me. If there are any potential or aspiring authors out there, if I can take the step and I can take the plunge, so can you. And if you've got stories to tell, I want you to tell them. That's basically where we're at. And I'm going to make mistakes. That's a given. I'm definitely going to make mistakes. But if I can be a cautionary tale for you, where you see the mistakes I make, we can learn from them together, and you can avoid them, that's absolutely fantastic in my mind. And I'll happily be the guinea pig there. But yeah, I just wanted to sort of, kick it off, introduce myself, sort of give you the aim of the channel and the videos upcoming, and go from there. But if any of that sounds interesting to you, I hate to ask, you know what's coming, but it would really, really be incredible, and I would appreciate it so much if you could get the ball rolling and subscribe. It helps me, and then you can stay up to date and come with me on this journey and learn from the mistakes that I make, and learn with me, and we can sort of, we can publish this with my books together, and it'd be amazing. And I've got big ideas, big plans for this channel moving forward. I am very, very serious about getting my books published. Probably actually the most serious I've been. I've tried YouTube a few times in the past. I've done gaming videos. I've done D&D videos actually, and this one feels different for me. So yeah, it feels pretty good. It feels pretty exciting. But no, thank you very much for watching the video and listening all this way. I appreciate I've rambled at you, but I will catch you in the next one, and hopefully I'll be talking a bit more in depth about the books that might interest you.